Everyone overcomplicates this. Studio lighting needn't be difficult to understand. It's just that maybe it's been badly explained for years. In this series of workshops, I'm looking to dispel some of the myths, some of the jargon, and some of the fluff around understanding how these studio lights work. So if you're a natural light photographer looking to purchase their first strobe, or you're a brand new photographer looking to move into portrait photography and into using flash to create dynamic portraits, then these are the introductory workshops for you. In this workshop, I'm going to break through some of the noise and get through to the things that you actually need to understand and help you ignore everything else. Hello, my name's James. I'm a portrait photographer from Portsmouth in the UK. I've been a professional portrait photographer for 22 years, and I use primarily studio flash in my day-to-day portraits. And in this workshop, I want to help you understand simply and easily how to use your first studio flash for creative portraits with impact. Let's go. So let's start off by understanding what this light actually is. In this instance, we've got an Elinchrom 1 unit, a completely wireless strobe unit attached to a basic square kit soft box. And the best way to think about this is that it's a window that you can move. Now, when people purchase their first strobe, they often have the same fears and the same questions. What power setting do I use? What modifier do I get? What if none of the technology works? What if it doesn't talk to my camera? What if everything is blown out and overexposed? And what if it doesn't look real? What if it just looks fake? Now, for a moment, we're just going to park all of those fears and just help you to understand 3 simple principles. And they are brightness, softness, and mood. Now, if you're a natural light photographer working with cloudy skies, sunny skies, window light, you'll often find that you're quite reactive. You're quite reactive to the environments that are presented to you, reactive in what aperture to use, what shutter speed to use. And that's where studio lighting differs. We can be proactive as studio photographers to move lights into positions to create effects, to create textures, to create mood, and to create softness that allows us to completely control our environments. And that's the main benefit of using strobe photography over using the natural environment. Now, if we use the example of using a window as our main light source for a portrait, the power and brightness of an image can be controlled with a window light by moving our subject closer to and further away from the window. Closer to the window is going to get more light on the face and give us a brighter image, and bringing our subject away from the window is going to decrease that power of light falling onto the subject. Therefore, we need to be reactive with our settings. So if we're working in a more dimly lit situation away from a window, we might want to use a longer shutter speed. We might want to open up the aperture to be wider. We may even want to increase the ISO to increase the sensitivity of our digital camera back to compensate for even exposure. As a natural light photographer, if we want to change the softness of the image, we would want to work in different environmental conditions. We would shoot on a cloudy day for super soft, diffused images as that sunlight powers through the clouds above, giving us a soft, even feel to the exposure. And on a day where there's no clouds, we'd be shooting in direct sunlight, which is going to give us a more powerful, direct form of light, which is going to give us more contrasty images and more shadows within our portraits. And in a natural light situation, in terms of mood, we're going to look at the direction of the light. A light coming from directly above, the sun directly above our subject, is going to give us a very natural feel. If the light's coming down from the side on a sunrise or a sunset, it's going to be coming across the face from the side, giving us a much more moody image. And if it's coming from front on, we can give ourselves a nice flattering flat looking image. And moving it around the other way, we can even backlight to get the light coming through the back of a portrait, giving us a much more moody, ethereal exposure with all of the hair lighting in the background and the face more in shadow. But all of these things are reactive when you're a natural light photographer. You'll look at the environment you're in and you'll react to the elements within it. You'll react in terms of the placement of the subject in relation to the light, and also in terms of your camera settings, your apertures, your shutter speeds, and your ISOs to give you the exposure that you're looking for. And that's where studio lighting has a massive benefit. In this studio, with even just a single light setup, I can move the light and change the power and change the modification to achieve a look that I want in that specific moment from my portrait image. If I want to change the power of this light, I can literally change the physical power coming through the flash tube of this unit. And in this unit, there's about a 6-stop range of power that I can use to achieve correct exposure. I can also move the light closer to and further away from the subject without moving the subject themselves, which allows me to control not only the elements within the portrait, but also the elements of the background as well. Now, with controlling the softness of the light, bigger modifiers are going to give me a softer fall off of light. Smaller modifiers are going to give me a more contrasty form of light. So I can amend the modifier in this unit to a big one if I want soft light, or to a smaller one like a snow, or even just a bare bulb to give me proper contrasty images with good texture throughout. Either way, I'm in complete control. And lastly, the direction of this light. With the tripod and with the angle poise underneath the flash unit here, not only can I raise it up or down or round from my subject, I can also tilt it. So I can have flattering butterfly lighting coming from above. I can have traditional Rembrandt lighting coming from 45 degrees down from the side. I can have mysterious split lighting coming in from the side. And I can also amend my lights to be creative rim lights and hair lights to add definition and form to my portrait. But how does light direction change the way the light falls across the face, and how can you learn it quickly and easily? Well, for this workshop, I have to thank Joe Elderman, who 15 years ago changed the way I think about portrait lighting simply by using an egg. In his frankly brilliant video, he showcased how the position of the light changes the way that the light falls across the face. Now, I'm no plagiarist, so I'm not going to be using an egg to showcase how to do that for you today. Instead, I'll be using this giant orange balloon. I'm going to take you to this balloon right now. This is Bob. Say hi to Bob. Yeah, there he is. This is Bob the balloon, and we're going to use him now to showcase how light falls across the face depending on what position you put that light in. I've got a Photix light tube here. They're really useful, really cool, and much cheaper than ice lights. We're going to turn off all the other lights in the studio first so that only this light here is affecting the way that Bob looks. Let's do that now. So here's Bob, and as we start from the top, we can start to see how moving the light from the top all the way down and around, we can start to see elements of the face. When we move the light closer, Bob goes brighter. When we move the light further away, Bob goes darker. When we move the light to the side, we can start to see maybe only half the face. And when we move the light round this way to halfway round the other way, we can start to see this side of the face. And when we bring the light underneath, we get that sort of uplighting style there of Bob, something a little bit different. Now, it's all well and good using a great big orange balloon there to showcase how light falls across the face. But as you can see there, it's quite massive and not particularly realistic. If you want a more realistic prop to practice on before you have to practice on an actual human, you can purchase one of these. This is a polystyrene mannequin head, and the light will fall across the nose, the cheeks, and the eyes. And you'll be able to see how it falls on this before we actually practice on a real living talking human. And we're going to showcase how this looks now. Now, this mannequin head is perfect for showcasing how light falls across the face. And we use the light tube here to bring it just above and in front of the mannequin head there. And we can see the way that the light is falling across the jawline, the nose, the lips, and the top of the head, and getting our eyes there well exposed. If we bring the light right over the top, we can start to see the shadows fall over the eyes. We start to lose all the detail there, almost, apart from just a little bit of highlight on that nose. The further we bring the light round and almost over and down, just above the lens of the camera there, we can see a much more flat lighting across most of the face. And then when we bring ourselves right down and underneath there, we can see all of the uplighting here, which gives us a slightly more horrific, unnerving look to the face there. And just by moving it further away and closer, we can see how it changes the shadows. If we bring it back into a much more conventional position there, just over the bridge of the nose, if we move it further away, we can see how the image gets darker. And if we move the light closer, we can see how the image gets brighter. When we start to move the light to the side, we can see how the side lighting affects the face and what position we need to put it in there and how much we can bring it around till we start to get a little bit of light under the eye on that far side there. And again, just round on this side, we start to bring the light round to bring our mannequin head into half shadow split lighting there, and then bring it round a little bit further with a little bit of light underneath the eye. When we start to bring the light round to the side here, we can start to see a little bit of the rim lighting either side there and how that affects the head and the portrait and where the light is falling on the face. And we can start to look at different lighting patterns here and around here to really give us different options, different textures and different contrasts that will affect the way the portrait looks. So by using this simple technique, we can help teach ourselves where light falls across the face and where to put the light if we want to achieve different effects in different portraits. In the next workshop, we're going to be showcasing what happens when we turn this light on, how it communicates with your camera, and what settings and setup to use to take your first portrait, even if you're working in a really small space. Thank you very much for watching. There's a ton of videos on this channel. Subscribe and follow and do all those fun things. And I'll see you next week on the Beginner's Guide to Using Your First Studio Flash.